Well, good day to you. It is, in fact, March the 1st, 2021. And I hope you're having a great day wherever you are, whenever you happen to be listening to this video, because there is a very, very, very strong likelihood that you are not listening to this video on the day that I actually put it up. So I wanted to wish you well as well. Now, if this is your first time ever listening to Search for Signs, I do have a question to ask you. What took you so long, man? I mean, I've been putting these videos up nearly 2 or 3 times a week for 2 years, man. You're a little slow. No, I'm just kidding. If this is your first time ever listening to this channel, I want to welcome you. I want to introduce myself to you. My name is Gary Willing, and who I am is I am an ordinary person, about as boring as they come. I have a job that I report to 5 times a week. I have family duties that I have to deal with. I have to fix my house. Like, I've had a lot of plumbing issues in my house as of lately, and I've had to deal with that whole crap. You know, I had to go to the grocery store. I got to fill my car up with gas. I mean, do you really want to hear this stuff, or you want to hear what we're really talking about? No, I'm just kidding. I am a boring, ordinary person, no different than everybody else, I guess. But some years ago, I stumbled across this information, like you're stumbling across it now, okay, about the return of the teacher, the one who made a promise to each religion to come back at some point. I stumbled across a book called Maitreya's Mission, Volume 2, written by Benjamin Creme. This book changed my life. And if you dive into this information and you really do your own research on it and look at this, it will change your life too, just like it did for me. But I am an ordinary person with quite extraordinary information that I'm willing to pass your way for free, okay? But also I'm passing it really without any kind of attachment, where if you agree with what I have to say and you like this and you do something with it, that's your right. If you disagree with what I say and it makes you quite angry, well, that's your right as well. I don't have any ownership of this information. I'm simply sharing it to you for you to consider and you to consider for yourself. That's it, okay? So I'm not trying to change your beliefs. I'm not trying to certainly change your religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs. I'm just presenting information that came my way, and you can either believe it or not. Now, I have had quite a number of experiences with these masters, and Maitreya in particular, that lead me to believe there's a lot of truth in it. And hopefully, because I'm not alone in having experiences with these masters, and I don't claim any kind of extraordinary connection with these masters in order to have a visitation from Maitreya from time to time, okay? Because there are thousands of people, perhaps even millions of people, who have had the same kind of experiences. Now, what separates me from them is I happen to recognize it and remember it, where you could have had a miraculous experience firsthand, or even Maitreya could have visited you firsthand and you don't remember it and didn't realize it. So that's really the only difference, because I'm not even claiming to be the only one to even have these experiences. But because I've had so many experiences, and some of them are quite off-the-wall crazy, that I can no longer deny, to myself even, that there's truth to this. Even in the fact that we're living in a world that what we talk about here hasn't truly materialized yet, and it's taken a lot longer than even I thought it would take. Even with all that, even with appearing to be crazy, even with people posting things all the time about how much they hate the fact that I'm saying these things and I'm going to go to hell for saying these things, I still come up every time and say this because I know it to be true for me. But like I said, I'm just presenting it to you. You know, there's no need for you to believe this. If you don't believe it, you know, we can still be friends. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot of friends and family that don't believe anything in this, and I still visit them on Christmas, and we have a wonderful time, and I don't have to try to convince them of anything, so I'm not going to try to convince you either. But now, I typically go into a kind of a little bit of an introduction about what we talk about here, about Maitreya, the Masters of Wisdom, why they're returning, and that kind of thing. Time is of the essence. I do apologize. I can't really get into it that much in this video. If this is your first time ever listening, and you want to know more about the intro part of this, just go back to the last video or the video before that and listen to the first 5 or 6, 10 minutes, whatever it is, and that will get you caught up. There's also links in every description of these videos that you can actually click on those links, go to these websites, and take a look for this, look for this stuff yourself. Perhaps believe it, perhaps not. So now, if you have a question about what we talk about here, that always helps to discussion. I recommend just posting your question as a comment, and then I try to answer it in the next video, but you can also email me at searchforsigns@mail.com. And as always, I want to thank everyone who's asked a question or posted a comment. Alrighty, now the first question comes from Robert Lawrence. Tom Horn, a Christian conspiracy theorist, says an asteroid called Apophis is going to hit Earth on April the 13th, 2029. In fulfillment of the book of Revelation's prophecy of the wormwood star inflicting devastation on the planet. It does say that? I don't know. He says it will be a part of the end times. Do you think that this is true? Robert and everybody else, not to try to sound like your third grade teacher by using that tone of voice. How do I say this? We think our life is based on the past. It really is based on our perception of the future in which we're living. Okay? If I thought there was any truth to that, I would not be starting every single video with, well, good day to you. It's March the 1st, and we have about, 8 years and a little over 2 months until we're all going to die. Of course not. Without sounding egotistical and thinking that, sounding like a total know-it-all, Robert, you got nothing to fear, okay? And between now and when these masters really come out and start to tell us that we have nothing to fear, but fear itself, just like the President Roosevelt said some years ago, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. We will still be hearing from people that want to perpetuate fear. Fear and joy are equally infectious. People have their own agenda for spreading fear. Some believe it. Some are doing it just for the attention or money or whatever. I don't know who this person is. I don't really care, right? It's just, there's no truth to it. There's no end times even. And the belief that the world is going to end is a false belief that's keeping people enthralled in fear, keeping them from wanting to do something to help the world out because they think the world's going to end and, well, what's the point, right? We're just going to die anyway, right? It's far better to spread joy than fear, but they're both contagious. And that's what I'm going to talk about in the next question in terms of the name Maitreya, meaning happy one. Maitreya spreads joy like you cannot imagine. You know, you haven't seen him on TV and recognized him yet, okay? Maybe you've seen him in your life and don't remember him. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. He can spread joy by a look, by a smile, by his own persona, by what he says, but he, along with every one of these masters, will never, ever, ever spread fear because they know how contagious it is. But they also know there's no truth to it. You know what I'm saying? So why spread it? You know what I mean? And if there is any truth to what he's saying, we won't know until April the 14th, 2020, or April the 13th, 2029. So what's the point, right? We might as well just keep living our life. No, I don't think there's any truth to it. Just like I didn't think there was any truth to the world coming to an end in the year 2000. Just like I didn't think that there was any truth to the end of the world coming on December 21st, 2012 because of the Mayan calendar ending and so forth 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 and so forth. It's just regurgitated fear over and over and over again. So don't worry about stuff like that, man. Just, go live your life. April the 14th, 2029, we'll all be here. The world will be here. I can't guarantee that you or I will be here. I mean, we could be dead, but that's personal to us. All right. Now, did that answer that question, Robert? Because the first question I answered when you did, a few months ago, I didn't answer it right, but I'm trying to be specific with you. Okay. Now, that leads me to the next question. This is coming from Homer Spring Farms. Maitreya in Pali means friend, right? Maybe I am Maitreya, maybe you are Maitreya. Perhaps we all carry the spark of Maitreya so we can wake each other up. Friends passing on the road, a fellow traveler always there at just the right moment and the right time to inspire to help, to talk for that particular moment, which isn't a moment at all. And Homer, I'm going to have to say I'm going to have to love that comment. I appreciate that very much. That's what I'm talking about. Spreading joy, man. You're doing it. The name Maitreya literally means happy one. Now, there might be different interpretations of that same name. In Pali, it may mean friend, but Maitreya was named by his master back when he was still a fledgling disciple on his way to becoming the first of our humanity to become a master. Now, I know who his master was. His master was because Benjamin Creme said who his master was the mother of the world, okay, who's a great master who's been living here for eons. Took him under her wing, and he was her disciple, okay, and at around the point that he was maybe around Martin Luther King's point in evolution, about 2/5 of the way to becoming a master, she named him Maitreya. Now, she did a perfect job. That is the perfect name for that man, that master, because the times that I've seen Maitreya, I cannot tell you how joyful that guy is. And every single time I've seen him, it's taken me days to come down off of that cloud, that joy that he spreads. The masters will tell you, just like I said in the last one, fear and joy are equally infectious. We have no idea how far our thoughts go out before they come back to us. And they come back to us in equal and opposite reactions. So if we're sending out fearful thoughts, they come back to us as destructive, fearful thoughts that affect our life for ill. If we put out joyful, creative thoughts, they go far out and they constructively help people and spread joy, and they come back to us as loving, joyful, creative, reaction. So I choose, I'm not perfect because I'm not a master, but I choose, when I remember, to spread joy and not fear. Okay? Now, if you have seen Maitreya in person, you'll know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, when Maitreya is speaking, with a greater sense of urgency even, about how we need to bring about peace or we need to save the environment, even when he paints this picture of destruction, that if we don't do this and giving us a choice, he will be spreading it with zero fear, but only from the standpoint of joy. Okay? These masters know no fear, so they cannot spread fear. Maitreya already knows that we will get through this very, very difficult time and come together in a peaceful, harmonious way that we've never experienced before. He already knows it's true. He already sees it as happening. Right? It's already happened to him, really. But as you said, not a moment at all, right? The masters see time as eternal. They see the past, the present, and the future all happening now. But the world in which he is living into is one of joy, peace, and love. So that's why when he sees each one of us, Homer, Robert Lawrence, David Stanton, the person who didn't ask a question, whoever it is, when he sees any one of us, he sees who you will be as a master. Even if you are the farthest person away from being a master, he already sees who you will be. And it makes his heart joyful. And that's the joy that he's experiencing. It's true joy from an total absence of fear, right? Now, just to comment on this, just so we can, I'm not trying to be critical of what you're saying, so don't take it like that, okay? But it does give us a chance to kind of talk a little bit more about this information, Homer. Spring Farms is, when you say, I am Maitreya, maybe you are Maitreya, and that kind of thing, perhaps we all carry a spark of Maitreya. From a certain point of view, that's true. From a certain point of view, you could say that isn't entirely true, okay? Because Maitreya is a master, and he is I can't say he's a man, but I can't say he really is an individual per se, but he is the Christ. Now, what do I mean by that? It's not somebody you have to believe in and you have to stop believing in Jesus and all that kind of stuff. I don't mean any of that. There is a Christ principle within the hearts of all of us. This is what you're talking about here, I'm assuming, right? That there's a bit of Maitreya, the Christ principle in all of us, right? It's in my heart, it's in your heart, and Maitreya's big job, and all these masters' jobs, is to awaken that Christ principle in all of us. It's a natural function. We don't have to look outside ourselves for the Christ principle. It's already there, right? It's just we're not manifesting it, right? We manifest it from moment to moment, every once in a while. We might manifest it, and then we might go back into not manifesting it. And then we might manifest it. We might actually help somebody, and it comes out, and that kind of thing. We might do something creative, and it comes out. You know what I'm saying? But it's not perfect. That's what makes us human. That's what differentiates us from these masters. Now, what would differentiate the Master Kuthumi or the Master Moria or the Master Jesus or the Master Akuzi from Maitreya is those masters manifest the Christ principle perfectly, moment to moment, without exception. And they will, from now on, they will never slip up and have to relearn what they've already learned. Maitreya was a master who chose to follow the path of becoming a Christ. And actually he, through eons of effort and work and whatever that he has to do to get to this point, is now embodying that Christ principle. The same Christ principle that you're talking about is just a little spark in all of us. Maitreya's literal cells in his body are that, is that love. These masters don't embody the Christ principle, but they do manifest it moment to moment perfectly. But not every master chooses to be a Christ. Okay? So his path is very rare indeed. Now, the other thing I want to point out is not all planets have Christs on their planet. Mars doesn't have a Christ that is on their planet. We have actually had two. The first one was the Buddha, who worked through the Prince Gautama, and Maitreya, who worked through Jesus. Now, the teacher will tell you that, they are our potential. Okay, so when Maitreya interacts with any one of us, he will interact with us knowing the truth, that you are a master in potential. Okay, so there is a lot of people who comment on this channel that says that they think that Maitreya is the Antichrist, and this will lead me to the next question, right? We'll segue into the next question, or comment about the Antichrist. That the Antichrist will come out and he'll fool the nations and he'll exalt himself above God. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, is Maitreya, when you see him, will never exalt himself above you, me, or any one of humanity. And even the most uneducated, poorest members of humanity, he will never ever exalt himself above them even, because he knows the truth. He knows that even the most uneducated, violent, even members of our humanity will eventually become a master. And he sees that spark in them, that same spark that you were talking about in the hearts of all of us. These masters all see that light shine, even if it's very, very dim. They see that light in the person. And they know that over the course of lifetimes and having to work through their karma and so forth and so forth, they will eventually be them, without exception. There isn't one person on this planet that will not be a master in the future. Not one. It might take some of us longer than others, but that's fine. Like you said, there's not a moment at all. There's no such thing as time anyway, right? So we will all eventually be a master just like them. And it's just a matter of when, really. So, but yes. And then the other thing I want to say is about helping each other, right? About that angel within all of us, right? The one thing that I do want to remind us is how, and it's happened to me too, so I'm not pointing any fingers, is you see somebody that needs your help, right? Or you see the world needs your help. It could be an individual, it could be a group of people, it could be the whole world, right? And there's this thought that crosses your mind or crosses your heart that says, you could help. Why don't you help? And we turn our back on it and we walk away. And we miss the opportunity, right, to help, like you're saying. So that is our soul. That is the divinity. That is the spark of the Christ within your heart that's tapping you. Help them. You can help them. You don't have to wait for somebody else to do it. You can do it, right? and you might see a person who's homeless or a person who's begging for money or something like this. And Maitreya says when you share, you're recognizing God within the other person, right? And so many times that I've seen Maitreya and other people have seen Maitreya, he'll ask for a little bit of money here or there. And he's doing it to not because he needs the money. He's doing it because he's trying to teach us to share, to help, right? But how many times do we turn our back on each other or family or friends even or whatever that might be asking for help because you don't have the time, oh, I can't do it, or I don't have the money, or whatever it is. You see what I'm saying? But if you do it once, it'll come again, and it'll come again, and it will come again, and then over eons of doing it, you'll be a master just like these masters are. So I really want to thank you, Homer, for that. Homer Springs Farms. I always want to say Homer, but I do want to thank you for that comment because it really speaks to what we should all be doing. So I really thank you for that. Now, the next one, we talked about the Antichrist. This is the other comment that comes. The Antichrist comes before Christ, so he can't be. He's talking about Maitreya, can't be the Christ. The Lord will come like a thief in the night. Well, he already did that. He came like a thief in the night in an hour when everyone least expected it, on July 19th, 1977. Maitreya was always in the world but never living in a major city. That's when he entered London. And if you're David Stanton, if you're old enough that you were actually living in the 70s, I can pretty much assure you, unless that's your birthday or something traumatic happened to you personally on July 19th, 1977, you have no recollection of what happened on that day. But that day was the day that Maitreya actually entered London. Now, the Antichrist, and I mentioned this in nearly every video, is actually an energy. And it was an energy that was released during World War II through the Axis powers that destroyed the old ways of thinking and relating to allow a new way of thinking and relating to take place. And one of the major misconceptions of Revelation, the misinterpretation of Revelation, is that the Antichrist is an individual. It's not. It's an energy. The other, I think, big misinterpretation of Revelation is the whole time frame of what John was trying to relate in the book of Revelation, of what he saw in the future. Is he was seeing a time frame of thousands of years, not a little bit of time. And so one of the beasts that he was referring to was Nero during his time. The other one was the Axis powers of World War II, and then there's another beast that's going to be re-released. The Bible puts it as a time and a half, which is the age of Aquarius plus half of the age of Capricorn. And the age of Aquarius, or any one of these cosmic ages, is 2,500 years-ish or so, give or take a century or two. So it will be nearly another 4,000 years before the next beast is released. But because so many of us relate everything back to ourselves, well, of course, we look at it as the end times are happening now, or it's going to happen in the next, few years or something like this. But there's not, and this is just for you to consider, but there's really no truth to any of that. It's over a longer period of time. In fact, there is no end times. This is just the end of the old times, and we'll be looking at the beginning of the new time. So anyway, but I do thank you for David for commenting on that. And you also put in there about the false Christs and so forth. Well, I got an email from somebody claiming to be Maitreya. So it's, I'm saying it's just, there are false Christs everywhere. There are people that think they're the Queen of England in Hyde Park, walking around Hyde Park, thinking for sure they're the Queen of England. And they're talking to people trying to convince them that they're Queen of England. Maitreya is the Christ, but he's not going around saying it. He's on TV presenting himself as an ordinary person, even. Only because the priority of peace, of ending hunger, of solving the environment, that's the most important thing. Not even recognizing him as anything, a master or the master of all the masters. That's not important. So if he was out there claiming to be the Christ, then I wouldn't even believe it. You know what I'm saying? It's only people such as myself, Benjamin Creme, others who know this information, who are saying he's the Christ because we're recognizing him as that. You don't have to recognize him as the Christ. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? The most important thing is to want for the world what he's advocating for the world, which is peace. So anyway, hopefully that helps. And I want to thank everybody for asking questions, and I look forward to questions in the future. You guys have a great day. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.